Not live.
We're live.
Yeah, we are live.
We are live. That's what you call professionalism. I wasn't even talking on the mic. How you feeling, Eric?
I'm getting hip to this song.
Yeah?
Jesus. Come on, man. Change it. That's awful. Change it. It's an audio podcast.
Yeah.
We're just going to listen to it then.
I said it before off mic. I unabashedly love Fall Out Boy. I don't care that I'm a 33-year-old man with 3 gray pubes.
Do you?
3. Yeah. I count them as they come in. But we've got Joe Clay here.
How many pubes do you gray pubes?
How many gray pubes do you have? This is how you interview.
And pubes.
I don't know.
All of them.
I don't have an Excel sheet or anything.
How's that for your first question, buddy?
This is going to be a tough interview. Okay. You don't have an Excel sheet?
No.
Okay. Well, I don't know what you're doing here. Honestly, our producer should have sent you something beforehand. And that's me. Shit. Okay. We're going to talk some graphic design, some animation. Workbench.tv is your website and passion project to teach the youngins how to do stuff. Let's do our sponsor for this podcast, Sweat Equity.
Yeah.
Pragmatic, realistic business advice, hustle, interviews. Sometimes just Eric and I shooting the shit. Sometimes
Fart noises.
Damian Alpizar of 208 Monkeys doing a little direction if you're watching on video, which is on YouTube, Facebook. Or if you're just listening, you'll just hear that sultry voice. Let them hear you.
Hello.
Yeah, because we're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. We're probably on Podbay, all the other things that just pull that audio automatically.
He's good for the demographic.
Yeah, it's too white. We had to mix it up a little bit.
He's not allowed
they
on
kept me
camera,
off camera.
Yeah, you guys stay over there, but at least you're
We
here.
kept you off camera,
Trust
yeah.
us, he's not white.
So let's do our sponsors, Grasshopper Phones. You've got a business, right, Joe? So business phone lines, how many people do you call and you're like, is this our house number or is this their cell phone?
I mean, since everybody's using cell phones nowadays, it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, but a lot of people need to act bigger than they are. Need to act more legit, especially people doing startups. You know, you need to act professional. That's why you need a second phone line.
How about just knowing how to answer the phone?
Yeah.
I answer hello when I answer my phone. If I have a business line, I'm on hello if it's my phone, my cell phone.
Yeah, then you just sound angry.
Yeah.
So Grasshopper's an app you can have on your phone, and it'll give you a different kind of screen, so you know it's that instead of your Verizon or AT&T line or whatever your personal line is. And it's a scalable phone option. It's the entrepreneur's phone line. Our listeners get $50 off if they use the link, and we'll put this in the episode description. It's trygrasshopper.com/sweat. Trygrasshopper.com/sweat, like Keith Sweat. Getting nasty, getting real sultry in here.
We got to come up with a better example. And,
Go for it.
Well,
right now.
My
do it.
only other ones are
Improv.
butt and
Improv!
nut sweat. So
What?
butt and nut sweat are the only two I got off the top of my head. But we got to come up with something off camera. We'll do it later.
Butt, nut, sweat, and pubes. We're really taking this
good start.
podcast up a notch.
Yeah.
All right.
Professional business advice.
Let's get to Eric's favorite part. We got to get it officially started. Howdy-toddy. God almighty. That's how you officially start the podcast. I like old school radio call-ins that you start every program with your call-in sign like that. Much like if you go on Workbench's YouTube channel, you've got, I see the thumbnails have your branding on everything in a similar fashion.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's just Eric hates it because it's
I let you do it because it gets you amped up.
Yeah, it gets
For
me
some
fired
reason. I
up.
don't know why.
Yeah,
but
I've seen he's always got
it's
a thing about it.
it's a little it's a
it's a little cheesy.
it's a little oh yeah,
It's
it's
a
cheesy for sure. It's like an old we used to do it in football. It's an Ole Miss thing, Ole Miss football. They have the hotty toddy. I don't know what it means. It was in our fraternity. We had some kind of chant like that.
Yeah, it's my opinion on it still hasn't changed.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not hoping it. If anything, all those reasons are just making
Makes it better.
Yeah. Hey, I'll switch if I can find something better. Just like we talk about writing copy or brand, or we name a lot of companies and name a lot of brands and stuff.
That's
got
the
to
one
beat it.
Yeah,
you got
I
to beat
know,
it. It's
but-
like Jokes in the Room. It's a 7 out of 10. You got to beat it in the writer's room. What's going on? I'm glad you're on the podcast. It's a little hectic.
I mean,
Throw out. Let's do this.
Everything is.
Throw out all your handles for the people, Instagram, all that stuff.
Oh man, it's usually Workbench TV. I think on Instagram or no Twitter, it's Workbench_TV because there's some weird Canadian like Workbench DIY program that's got that. So
Yeah, and when you search for Workbench, you're going to get a lot of Workbench tutorials, how to make a workbench kind of
yeah,
thing.
that's the only downside.
So put in like graphic design or put in animation, tutorial. No, you don't want tutorial.
So it is graphic design, animation,
motion
the
graphics.
Okay.
Mainly. Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to clarify.
Eric did a lot of research before.
I told him I intentionally don't do research so that I can ask the questions that people want to know.
We actually do that on purpose because we
That's
want
actually
it
just
to
because he's lazy.
be
Sorry.
well,
Off-screen
Double duty.
comment.
Shut it,
it can
Damian.
it can be both.
Stay off
Yeah,
camera.
it works well for both.
So tell me about it. Why'd you start it? What is it? Give me the who, what, when, where, why, all that.
Well, first I was having kind of a slow year. It was like 2 years ago, right? My main business, Yellow Dog Party. So we do like graphics, animation, production, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, you know what? It's time to kind of share some of my knowledge with people. It was something I wanted to do like a long time ago. There was like some people that were starting out, and I was like, oh man, I could do that,
Yep.
And just at the time, I was like, I didn't have the time to do it, and it just wasn't the right time, I guess, for it. And there was all this like beginner stuff that didn't exist when I started. So it was kind of what I wanted to do. But then all of the market kind of filled up and did that. So I figured I'd just start to make more advanced tutorials that were the stuff that I'd want to see that wasn't out there.
It's interesting. It's like I was telling Damian something about they should be doing a podcast similar to this. I think like 2 years ago I was telling you.
Yeah.
More as a recruiting tool, I think, to get younger people to follow over, and then maybe you develop a relationship with some of these people that are into it.
Right.
But that's interesting how that kind of parallel thinking happened, and we're not even 7 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're in South Tampa, right?
Seminole Heights.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the murder capital.
You're
of
in my
Tampa.
hood, yeah. Well, that's why I was just pitching about trying to sell our house and buy a new one, contingent on us selling a house, and it's that serial killer just
Really
wiped away about
ruined your day,
35 grand on the house price.
I
So
love that too. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously it sucks, but it's also kind of interesting in a way. It's like here, like Ford murders the news, and like that's like not even a weekend in like Chicago.
I'll try to keep a rant pretty quick, but the journalism there's twofold why this was a disaster of an investigation. The journalists fucking should be ashamed of themselves. They should be fucking. There should be some kind of punishment for them for sensationalizing this. It made it 5 times worse than it needed to be.
Yeah.
They called it a serial killer before it was technically a serial killer.
True.
I think.
How many does it take? 3?
I think.
I think like 3. I think.
2's
I
like
go.
an
I
accident.
go with the Major League.
Yeah, and they
Remember the speech? He
That's
goes,
called a winning
right, right. 3. That's a winning streak.
or a heart attack. Sorry.
That's my rule at least. And it was just when they had 2 kills. It was just a bus stop that was similar. That was it too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
he
Yeah, there
didn't
wasn't
really move
super
around.
MO.
Yeah, there was no like he left the pentagram.
Yeah, he didn't have
Like,
all the fun puzzles and things that they normally leave around for the cops.
It was just a dude that's a
Hang around.
sociopath. I
Yeah.
bet he was on. I bet there's some pharmaceutical involvement. I bet opiates because that does change your brain chemistry. Anyway, we're getting down a sloppy road. The other part of that is PR. Well, this all will come back into the fold. PR, the police department dictated this message so poorly that they just kept leaving it open-ended, like they wanted to write a TV show on it. Like they were like, here's either this guy on video, he's either doing a jog, he's either jazzercising through the neighbor. It like gave this like ridiculous scenarios, like, or he's the Seminole Heights killer. And it's like, what the fuck? Why did you do a press conference for this. Like, this makes no sense.
Real quick, I just think that your audience is probably trying to figure out at this moment how drugs, opiates, and graphic design are all going to come back together.
That's the magic of me.
Okay.
I'll dovetail it back.
Because my eyebrow went straight up, like
Good.
Vulcan, like what?
Good. You're the voice of the people today. So it has to do with dictating your message, right? I think Joe's done a good job of that. I went through I went back in your catalog before we started because I wanted to see what it looked like in the beginning, your channel.
Right.
And the reason we started talking is like, you did a humble brag post like, hey, we got 10,000 subscribers. And I was like, oh, no shit. Because I remember looking at it a while ago and I was like, this is really cool. I, on the fly, have to do a lot of graphic design stuff, like smaller stuff.
Sure.
So I can send it to a good designer like you or Damian to really do it.
Sure.
I'll get the concept down, but sometimes I need good tutorials, and you can burn fucking hours trying to find like good stuff. And no one's
learning how to do something. What were you talking about earlier today? That just
how to take a logo, make it white.
make it white.
And I was like, I was trying to do this for a while, and then I looked, and it was like a minute video, and it was like, just change the hue to white. I was like, that's it in Photoshop? Okay.
Fucking idiot. That's what they said at the end.
Yeah. It said, you'll never make it at the end.
Yeah, just stop, buddy.
So it dovetails back because you're creating a brand through this on a passion project, not too dissimilar from what we're trying to do with this podcast a little bit. Where, we don't know what's going to come of it. We like shooting the shit and talking a little business because that's mainly where if I went to a dinner party, the conversation would somehow get over there anyway. Right. Which my wife hates, but I mean,
somehow, yeah, you're
business
bringing it
is
up.
life, though. I mean, it's in a lot of ways, it's a small, medium business. It's life, for a lot of them. A business owner, Damian over there. Look, it consumes everything. His wife's a business owner too. It's a lot of your conversation because sometimes you could come in and go help. Oh, you should be doing this, this, and this. His wife, the badass stylist. She can go, oh, you should do, with those shellac nails, you should get some Moroccan oil, put it in the hair. Yeah, I know my hair stuff.
Those are good hair words, man.
I was in the salon industry, man. I know all about it. You want to start a salon, I'll rip that shit. I know price per square foot. I know how many chairs you need. I know the commission rates, all that shit.
Nice.
You should put a runway in there, a red carpet. So after they're done,
You got a look in your eye right now.
I'm excited.
I think we need to start hair bench.
Excited. What is that saying? Now we're all trying to read a card. Just say it, Damian.
yeah, you could just.
God damn.
This isn't a professional.
can't read.
I was attempting
Internet's
to do
bad?
something. Yeah, the internet's bad.
Oh,
we're
great.
We're getting some artifacting and freezing, so there are sometimes that you're max headrooming out. For those
Max Headroom, the show.
for everybody who is not born after 1990 something.
Is that the dude that hacked into the TV station? What is that?
No, Max Headroom.
Max
dude.
I don't know what it is.
Like the old
That
Coke
was-
Pepsi commercial
that-
guy, like Max Headroom.
That was a spoof. They did,
But there was something
yeah.
that
Yeah,
they,
that guy
like,
was like Chicago or something. Like he
yeah, somebody
into
like
the
hacked into the local TV
thing.
station.
Yeah, that was a Max
stuck that
Headroom
guy-
mask.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So yes, you got
So
the.
I'm not
you got,
wrong.
Yeah,
I'm pretty much right then.
Looks okay. I'm
I
looking.
feel proud for knowing that for
Yeah.
some random reason. I have
know. Good
tons
for
of
us.
useless trivia. So
Pat ourselves on the back.
Well, they also spoofed it in Back to the Future when Ronald Reagan got up and he's like, "I'm Ronald Reagan, buy Coke," and they did that whole little thing when he first goes into the future cafe.
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
future retro cafe.
Yeah, good call.
there was some random kid in there. I think I saw not too long ago. I think it was like Elijah Wood. or
Elijah
something
Wood's
was
in that, yeah.
Yeah,
He's
he's
the
like
kid.
the arcade kid or whatever.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
So weird.
you gotta use your hands. Yeah,
That's the fun part about like watching like old movies over again because you're like, oh, hey, that's that guy that I forgot about.
he
And
he
there
made
is.
it. What happened to the guy next to him? He didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw Kirsten Dunst in Jumanji the other day. When she was about 10
weird.
or whatever. Yeah, it is weird.
Oh, the old
didn't know that.
Jumanji.
old,
This is weird to
the
say.
real
the
Jumanji.
new one. They just shrunk her down.
I feel.
That one was cheaper to buy on Amazon for the kids. You guys watch the original.
Dad, I
You're
want to
gonna
watch
enjoy it.
Jumanji. It's like, oh, I got it.
Well, it's a new one that has like The Rock in it.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
first one
that's
has
so
Robin
But your kids
Williams.
are probably disappointed. They're like, "Where's the Rock?"
I heard
I
it's
want to
really.
see Kevin Hart.
I heard it's really good, actually.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah.
You saw it?
Yeah. Of
No
course.
kids?
No need for kids to watch the
By
Rock and
yourself?
Kevin Hart. Dude, it has
In a
Karen-
trench coat?
Has Karen Gillian in it. Come on.
Who's that?
Redhead from Doctor Who and also plays Gamora in Battles of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Or something? Oh, that's right.
Guardians of the Galaxy. She's the blue chick in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, the really like the sister.
Nebula. Sorry, Nebula.
Yeah. That's a good flick too.
Yeah, but come on, hot redhead. Of course I'm gonna go.
I'm not into redheads. Sorry, I'm not a ginger kind of guy. No offense, it's not my thing.
I'm
Too pale or too
women-
dark.
I should have probably been on camera.
You,
You made me talk too much.
No,
I'm trying
they-
to switch here,
You
dude.
can't say too dark.
why?
You can't say, you just can't
Too
say that
pale.
shit. Don't say
If I can
that.
say too pale, I can say too dark.
No, you can't. You can only say with too pale.
It's not. It's just
I'm
not.
telling you.
I know what my
trying to help you.
wiener gets a boner for certain things.
I'm trying to tell
It's
you.
like
I'm helping you out here.
this is not a PC show by any means. So, and I'm not saying anything terrible. I don't say I'm hating anybody. It's just the wiener wants what the wiener wants. Okay?
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Look, if you're into DVDA, like that's your jam.
Look, my wife is
Double
darker than me. and
vagina, double anal.
my wife is darker than me. And she likes them light, bright, and damn near white. So
well, I don't know what. Why don't we talk about
Eric-
Joe's
Eric got scared.
workbench.tv? I can't learn all these acronyms and whatever you're talking about. We're trying to focus here. We have a guest for once.
And we're
It's
shoehorning.
nice. And we're sitting here just talking about dicks and balls for 15 minutes now.
That
Let's talk business.
look, that was
I didn't mean to cut
secretly
to you
why
on
we
the
did
dick and
this.
balls thing. I instinctively, was
Sorry.
cutting back and forth. That we'll try to edit that
We should have
out.
called this "Dick and Balls in Business." That
Oh, dude, we can still call it that.
ooh, maybe a spin-off.
Hey, works for me.
Look, and we're shoehorning this in a very hectic day. Eric's a little stressed, as am I. He's finding serenity.
This
That's
is my non-stress time.
yeah. This is the fun.
As soon
This
as
is
we get
fun,
off here,
silly
I'm
time.
stressed.
Yeah, that's why we have yoga mats and shit over there. And I want to get a fucking punching bag. I think
Yeah.
we can hang one. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, think.
Good idea.
It won't be us anymore.
Well, just
See that stupid
just
bag.
30 seconds just to fucking punch something. I think it'd be cathartic.
Yeah, it definitely. Yes, let's do that.
Just
All
do
right.
the drive-by punch.
I want
You-
the
you
one.
really
that
Oh, I
you
would do
hit.
that all day.
One
Just
solid-
just a one. Bam. Okay, yeah, I feel better now.
Oh,
Yeah.
that you
Move
should
on.
get like a speed bag. Then you just get like a little.
Those are.
Quick hit on it.
I actually thought of that. Those are so noisy.
It's true.
That these guys next to us
And you, like, hit into the
record
wall.
stuff. I can hear like them on a conference call behind us. So it's, the walls are thin already.
Uses that glass to the wall technique.
Yeah.
Put it up there. You can hear everything.
Oh, I just take a ceiling tile.
Put it in
and
Dragon
move
Dictate.
it.
And move on with your day.
Dragon Dictate all day, son. All day. We'll do that with this. I have a couple pointers like that that I wrote down while I was
This
watching.
show not currently sponsored by Dragon Dictate.
I'm in love with Dragon Dictate. I've got no qualms about it. They're not a sponsor. We just want to give out good things that are good.
Good things that are good.
Yeah. It makes
From Sweat
it,
Equity.
It works.
Goodly.
Look, usemoo.com if you're printing stuff. That's a good thing. That's good, man.
Law's got all his own promo codes.
Can
that
I
he's
write
putting
these
on
down
there.
for the next
Yeah.
tutorial? I think.
Oh, don't worry. They'll be in the show notes
Good.
and the
Perfect.
blog posts I forget to put up most of the time.
Oh, you
so
do that too?
yeah. One thing I want to ask you about. We just did Tinfoil Hat Podcast, which is a conspiracy theory podcast with Sam Tripoli. They got a lot of listeners, but also a lot of crazy listeners. And Eric and I have been looking through the comments, independent of each other, talking about it. We both looked through all of them.
Yeah,
And then I
sounds
just got
interesting.
bored one night and started answering a bunch of them or replying to them. And I was looking at yours, and there's so many people whining about, like, this is too, no, can you slow it down? It's like, bitch, fucking pause it. Like, pause the video. It's a video tutorial. Pause it.
I've actually had some people tell me before, like a long time ago, like one comment or something where it was like that YouTube has a feature where you can like slow down the video.
I was just gonna say you could probably do half speed.
Yeah,
too.
somebody was like, "Oh yeah, I watch your videos in like half speed because I'm not a native English speaker." I was like, "Oh, that's interesting."
can-
All right, so I think like the next like person that said that to me, I basically was just like, "Yeah, well, you could watch it in like half speed."
You can do podcasts at half speed, and everybody sounds like they're
Yeah.
high.
I do it on accident a lot. I'll hit that button, and I'll be like, what the am I on fucking
Or one and a
NyQuil?
half. Yeah, 1.5 is that everybody's on
Wow, that
speed.
hits
Yeah.
strong. I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm like, this is ZQL is a purple drink. What's the weirdest thing that's come out of you doing this? You've been doing it for 2 years. Passion project, side project. Kind of like, I'm guessing it's similar because we did this because it's like I got something to say about. I got all this information. I feel like, and I like giving advice to people that don't ask for it. But I also like interviewing people or like having old buddies come in and just shooting the shit.
Sure.
What's the weirdest thing come out of it? Comments or weird messages or I think that's interesting that
All right, comment.
around the world, people are using it, which is, I saw you had some kind of French translation maybe on one of them.
Oh, there was a guy that had done a tutorial that was similar. Well, he did it before I did. I didn't know it existed. Somebody else told me about it, and it was in French. So thankfully, I had taken some French, and I was able to figure out what he did.
Oh, nice.
And it was a better version of something I did, so I incorporated that into the download for something.
No, I think that's cool. I mean, we talk about, a lot of the stuff we're doing, like emojis is the universal language they're saying kind of thing. So we're starting to think of everything in a context of like, all right, how can we make it a little bit more global if it's not that much more effort,
Right.
But your tutorials, you don't really need the audio, right? Sometimes you do, but it's harder, I'd say.
Probably only because I don't do step by step.
Ah,
So I kind of skip a lot of things. Like if you're not an After Effects user, you probably aren't gonna like a beginner is not gonna really get all of the things that I'm doing usually.
yeah, and it's a narrow audience.
But
for
yeah,
sure.
if you're advanced enough, you could probably pick up some stuff. Sometimes I don't really explain what things are exactly. Like I'm not a settings guy. I hate when people just, well, especially because all the time I'd get like reels from people or whatever in different places I've worked in. It's like, okay, that guy copied a tutorial. That guy did this. Like he doesn't know what he's doing because he's not taking the thing and advancing it. He's just taking something that somebody else did and presenting that in a different way. That's his own. It's not his own thing.
So everybody, all like, because you guys have to collaborate so much with other video production companies, animation studios, whatever. So when you're getting a file, all the default settings are all wacky, or they have their way of doing stuff.
I just no, it's more when people are presenting their work. Like the stuff that I see from people, like you can pick out if you've seen like there's a huge guy, video co-pilot Andrew Kramer. He does like these just crazy tutorials, and you see his stuff in people's reels all the time. It's like this is like somebody presents it to you like, hey, this is my work, and you're
shit.
like, no, that's not yours. You didn't.
Oh, they were doing
you
the
didn't do that.
tutorial and then saying, "Hey, look
Yeah.
what I." I mean,
Well, there was
I
a
guess
place
they
that-
technically did it.
There's
but
a
not
place I
really.
used to work at where the creative director was like asking us. I mean, this happens everywhere. I've seen other people tell the same story, but basically, creative director comes in. He's like, "Hey, what do you guys think of these people? We're looking to hire somebody." And then it's like, "Well, that's an Andrew Kramer tutorial." So, and then as soon as that happened in the place I was at, he basically took the DVD because it was that long ago out of the computer and just threw it in the trash. Like that was immediately. It was like, nope.
Whoa.
He should.
that-
Well, I mean, he should have Google reversed something, searched it.
I didn't know that
somehow,
was.
one or
But
another.
I didn't know it was that prevalent. Like I figured it was like,
definitely.
I figured it was like the stand-up comedy community where like if you steal jokes, you're basically
'cause
looked
it's-
at like a child
It's
molester.
not exactly stolen. Like it's like if somebody. Well, I mean, I guess in comedy it's a little different because in comedy the punchline is always the punchline. There's not really like, however you tell it, it changes, but it's
No,
No?
it's very similar because you can have a premise, right, that is only unique to that person.
Right.
That's how a lot of these guys get caught.
all I'm saying is what people think is that they can go off and tell the joke differently, and that's a different thing.
Right.
But so it is the same, but I'm saying it's
Same and
in-
different. Yeah.
In comedy, they get way more like shut down on doing it. In our world, it's more like, oh well, they're kind of did something a little different than it's knocked down
Yeah.
a little bit.
It's well because you have to your iterations count in yours, whereas ours are just like you're just building to something.
Right.
They're whiffs to
Right.
other comics.
Right.
You're working on a bit to make it tight, whereas y'all's final thing. I feel like the graphic design, or for lack of a better term, graphic design community, they like seeing the iterations in the process a lot of the time.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
Definitely.
If I can chime in, one of the main things, especially just a little advice to anybody out there who is doing things that they have Andrew Kramer or whatever other tutorials out there, you're more than welcome to take that material, learn from it, do it, and then do something as simple as go and shoot your own footage and do the same effect on your own footage, and at least that shows that you understand how to apply the effect. And I think that that's one of the main things that, especially when graphic designers come into play, it's almost as similar as someone, and it happens in music industry, it happens in a lot of industries. People in the music industry like, here's my beat. I'm like, no, you actually got like 5 samples and 3 loops that already came with the package. You didn't really create anything unique. You may have rearranged it slightly different. But yeah, I totally understand what that means. And it's
Definitely.
it happens mostly, especially when new budding graphic artists they that's their education. They get it from online, and they don't know how to expand upon it. And I think that's one of the bigger things that I think that gets overlooked. Even Andrew Kramer and yourself, I'm sure, on Workbench, are always pushing people to go, all right, cool. Take this and apply it to your project. At least let me see it in application, as opposed to just being quite literally, it's the exact same effect.
That's partly too why I'll get some complaints every once in a while where somebody's like, "Oh, could you show me from the beginning?" or "What did you do for this?" or whatever. Unless it's like a really important setting, I'm not going to go off and say, "Yeah, okay, the setting is 50 for this and 20 for that," because then you're not learning how to use it. And the point is to take what I make and expand upon it. That's kind of like I'll still watch tutorials nowadays. Like somebody else comes up with something interesting, even if it's something I know. Like a lot of times, if I have some downtime, I'll watch it because sometimes I'll pick up a little piece of something that, like they did. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you could do that, or like whatever. Like because even if you're the meekest person, you still have some insight into something.
Sure. No, I think that's what YouTube's really great for. Is we have to use it all the time because it's
there.
Well, we handle so many different services. So it's like. It's there.
I mean, it's great to learn
free
something
advice
that you didn't know. Like like even if you're outside of work and stuff, like you're at your house, you're like, oh, okay, this like piece on my toilet broke. What do I do to fix that? And somebody's like, hey, here's this exact model of toilet. This is the handle that like there's like all of this stuff out there.
We made a sketch we're very proud about that we didn't put much behind it, but we made a sketch like how to be a man sketch.
Fix the toilet
because we grew up in this era where like we're not handy. And
definitely,
we almost embarrassingly have to look up how to properly spackle.
Call your dad or something.
Well, no, you try it first, then you break everything, and then you go back how to fix.
Oh, that's
what you
the
broke.
worst. Like when you take something apart and you break the thing that you need, and then you're like, oh, well, now I know how this works, but it's broken.
Yeah, every time.
And then wife bitches at you, and then it's like, fuck, okay, I won't buy a new one, but like I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna figure it out.
Well, it does, I mean, Adobe After Effects seems like it's like limitless in its potential for manipulation, sort of thing.
And
So
Eric's video
that
production
sounds like
as
my
well.
ex-wife. Sorry.
I can
Did you just throw do you have an ex-wife? Really?
No, I don't have an ex-wife.
You threw an ex-wife joke
doing
then?
90s sitcom banter.
Jesus Christ! You can leave whenever.
Wife over there. Am I right, guys?
Wow.
No, I was looking at your site, Joe, and I looked at the blog, and it was like literally the first sentence. I'm lost. I can't I thought about looking into video graphic design stuff, and then it was like 5 minutes in, I was like, oh no, I can't do this. This is a lot different.
There are some simpler stuff. That last post is actually kind of complicated.
Okay,
that
good.
one's pretty complicated already.
You're talking about number format
Yeah.
things? Okay, yeah,
Well,
that looks really...
Because for some reason, I don't know why. So a lot of the stuff I do is like programming related, and because I used to do some of that. And what's annoyed me about After Effects sometimes is there's sometimes like functions in it that you need that you don't have, but that are like a single function in another language, like number format and like PHP, which is something I did a lot of stuff in. It's like number format, this number, here you go, and then it spits out like a number with things in it. Yeah,
all the code.
But here, you like at least as far as I know, maybe it's in there somewhere. I don't know, but like I had to actually reverse engineer how to build that function.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like even you're making these videos, you know what you're doing, and you have to go reverse engineer stuff.
Yeah, I mean sometimes I have to learn stuff, and like other times there's people way smarter than me that figure out things too. So
yeah, it's problem solving at the end of the day. Because it's really a similar process, I'm sure, to figuring out any difficult process, problem, whatever. That's why I like trying to do stuff that's outside of my zone to help that problem solving process.
How you grow too.
Yeah, because I'll go, okay, watching this tutorial on how to do grout for my tile, it actually subconsciously helps me figure out how to use software and reverse engineer from there, or apply it. I need that grout fresh and flush against the tile, just like we need this design to be flush. Just for whatever reason, it'll help me contextualize a lot of.
And once you learn it as a man, you'll throw that info out as soon as you can.
Oh
Boom.
God, yeah.
Guess what I know about grout, guys?
Especially to some other guy who's just asking about you. Then you act like you've been an expert in it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You're like, yeah, I own a tile business for like 20 years.
Hashtag dad bod
Yeah.
all day. Yeah, if I'm doing it in the middle of the night and I'm just by myself, like just listening to podcasts and just like, this is a Friday night. This is what I'm doing. More 100%. I'm gonna post it. And just be like, look what I did, guys.
Sometimes it feels like that old Simpsons joke where like Marge is learning the piano.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, she's teaching piano too. And she's like, I just have to stay one lesson ahead of the kids. That's basically like what it is.
I feel like
sometimes.
that's a lot of management nowadays, just because we're too spread out. Just kind of everything's so segmented and fragmented out from a management standpoint, just because the internet fucks with everybody's head. There's too much cool stuff out
I'm
there.
trying to think of a
We're still recording, but the
situation that
connection got
doesn't
lost.
apply.
Yeah,
to
it says
that.
live video interrupted, but that's fine.
Whatever.
It's
We
okay.
got
Stream has now
audio.
recently
back on.
resumed. Yes,
Yeah.
Audio.
that's what the producer does. You know, I sit here and inform you of these situations.
Well, we may have one coming up.
Play it up a little bit. You're
You
over
should,
there.
Damien, you should
he's
write it on like a card.
he's
or
over there
something.
like putting plugs together. He's getting it all good.
Yeah,
All the tubes are.
it's
lining.
Mevo. It's not.
Well, dude, I understand that. I'm in the process of trying to get it to the point that we get used to having this kind of a situation on the back end, because I would love for this to actually go, you know.
Oh
full
shit! You're
studio.
behind the glass when we. You're not in
You're
the
not
room.
allowed in the room, dude.
You're not in the talent.
Oh no,
We'll
yeah,
have
I-
it all.
I'm
trust
kidding.
me, I'll be piping in into your earphones. That way, it's like,
Yeah, Robin Quiver
Yeah,
style.
he'll just turn our microphones
Start doing
down.
that thing where you just start echoing what he said, but just like a fraction of a second later, so it messes with your brain.
Yeah, audiences love that.
audiences love that.
They love
They
audio
love
that doubles.
Audio that doubles.
You can't get my
You can't
southern
give us
drawl.
the drawl.
That's the worst improv game, by the way. You have to copy the person right in front of you.
Yeah.
It's like a warm up game, and I'm like, this is the worst. Okay.
Yeah, that's what my kids do to fuck with me.
Yeah, it's the not
Right.
touching you game.
Yeah, I'm not touching. Yeah, exactly.
It's a free country, bro.
Yeah.
Free country.
Free country. That means I'm a dick. If you say it's a free country.
Yeah, I'm gonna push you. Yeah. What do you think about that, free country, bitch? Right to bear arms. My bear arms.
Yeah.
Boy, there's
Dad
a lot
puns.
of schoolyard trauma you guys are working out right now. Just a lot.
I was going for the dad pun. I was just trying to get all the way into bear arms, basically.
He's had that queued up for like 5 minutes. I
Yeah.
know.
Oh yeah.
Is
It's
that
been
how
in the
you-
hopper.
You're
One
trying to
day.
get to the full circle with all the other shit we were talking about earlier.
You should do that.
I did.
Actually.
I already touched back to it.
You should have like something set beforehand, like you're gonna say it. You
Oh,
know,
well.
like way before. You're like,
Oh,
I'm gonna
you
work
mean-
in this weird phrase and see if I can sell it.
Oh well, last year my New Year's resolution was to say girthy more, and so I think I've done a good job. And it's in the lexicon now. It's
I feel like
people
you've
are-
said that like 3 or 4 times since I've been here today.
good because it's woven into my vernacular, and it's
The Mevo is named Girthy.
yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
So-
you need to name it something, so why not?
Mainly because it looks like a girthy.
It does actually.
Camera.
The slogan for this podcast should be girthy advice, I think. But I think we're going to get a totally different audience.
Yeah, sweat equity, girthy. It's a lot of.
Girthy, pragmatic girthy
Getting
advice.
closer to that Keith Sweat vibe, though. I think.
Ooh, yeah, Keith Sweat. So what? Tell us about the industry. What's going on? How about this? How about give advice to 10 years younger you that wanted to get into this? Time travel. You can give advice to yourself, or you're just giving advice to
Yeah,
a classroom
sure.
today.
Really, start. Start
Ooh,
is
just
the,
start
is the advice.
principle?
I've probably stolen that from somebody, I'm sure, but
No, it's parallel
it's
thinking.
like Seth Godin, ship it or whatever, like any of those kind of things. Just start now.
we don't listen to those Silicon Valley
Fancy
podcasts
types. Nah, I'm
or
just-
those higher up business guys. That's why we created this. Actually,
fine.
it's
Works-
like
works
anti
with
Tim
that.
Ferriss here. So you're
Oh, you mean you can't like get everything you want in like 4 hours? In a week?
exactly. That's why seriously it used to
Should
annoy
I
me.
reschedule some
Don't get me
stuff
started
then?
on Tim Ferriss, dude.
I listened to all
starting
these
to
entrepreneur
boil.
podcasts, and they'd be like, "All right, just get like 7 of your friends that are billionaires, and then you sit in a Y Combinator conference room, and you just fucking figure it
He
out."
wrote a book on how to manage your $80,000 a month pharmaceutical business.
Yeah.
Thanks for the advice, Tim.
Oh, sweet. 5 people.
He's like, all you gotta do is make a product.
yeah.
Okay, which one? You tell me.
So that's why I go so specific in like moo.com reference or something like that, because there is, and it sounds jilted sometimes, but I heard Colin Quinn say specificity is the language of the universal. Wrote that down and remembered it. And I really like that because I feel like the way I look at comedy and a lot of communication and language, I try to be overly specific unnecessarily because it's kind of funnier sometimes, but
I do that sometimes even in workbench stuff just because it's fun.
yeah, it's fun. Well, so just start. now you have the motivation to do it. My first thing, I know nothing about how to just start to want to be this kind of artist. I would say I'd try to find like a Mashable class or something and get that Linda.org.
Well, yeah, I mean, as far as that kind of stuff goes, I'm thinking of when I had this mindset to do workbench stuff. That was like I was already kind of in it, and I'm thinking like it's the time is whenever you have it, like it's now.
Right. Yeah, it's an appendage to what you're doing already. Like this podcast is time and cost effective, and it's a good way to get our voice out. And literally don't have to spend that many hours a week, so it's not, and it's fun, so it's not that bad. And I'm sure when you started seeing results of people kind of subscribing, that's when it kind of felt fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Because the first part of doing like some kind of like content strategy like this, even if it's not like focused on making money or anything, it's that thing of like you're gonna put it out there for a while, and unless you have a big budget to put ad money or something, it's just gonna be like, all right, I'm sending
100 views.
Yeah,
another 100.
A message in a bottle.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, I mean, that's kind of how it is. I started actually on Vimeo instead of YouTube. So I started putting stuff up on there, and I'm like, all right, cool. And it actually got a decent amount of views. I don't know what the deal is with that, but it just didn't feel like the right type of place.
I'm going to suggest
I feel
you
like
go
Vimeo is
back
like finished.
there. No. Vimeo's making moves, man. They just bought that camera company, Livestream. They just bought them out. They want to be the third player now, and because Facebook's now number 2, I think, video.
Right.
Twitch might be 3. I don't know. But as far as like not watching video games places.
that blows my mind that it could be 3.
That fucking blows my mind.
That is fucking crazy.
It's insane.
Kids these days.
Well, there are actually a good amount of people doing even stuff, just random stuff on Twitch, like all sorts of stuff. Like I have these very varied like tastes on different things and YouTube and. Like like the H3 podcast.
Let it ride.
Way to censor yourself.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Sexual
Let it go.
fetish Twitch.
Oh no, I
channels.
mean like.
Oh wait, Pornhub's got to be one.
Yeah, I mean
all porn stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
okay.
Everything's
that's another
number 2.
category.
I was
That's
counting. Yeah, that's in a separate file.
non-pornographic video.
Right.
Yeah, and
content
you're normal
system.
every day. Like
What?
you're like 9 to 8.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah. So
yeah, that's why.
What else is on Twitch?
There's people like I'll watch. Granted, I don't watch a lot of stuff on Twitch, but I know they have Twitch. Usually, I'm watching it on YouTube because I'm older, I guess. I don't know, and I'm not sitting there at 6 o'clock when people are doing things. But there's like a dude that I watch that does he makes things, and his channel's called I Like to Make Stuff. So he does Twitch streams and stuff, and then there's a guy that does like these prop making things, like 3D prints and foam stuff, and it's Punish Props, and he does stuff on there as well. So a lot of times I'll catch people's live stream stuff later on, but I'm not on Twitch watching it. But it's it's content that was generated there.
So you go on YouTube to go to Twitch?
Well, no, usually people post like a shortened version of it.
Oh,
because if somebody's going to live stream for like 3 hours, I don't usually have 3 hours worth of time to.
Yeah, we'd love
to sit there and watch it.
We're trying to figure out a process to. There's I think OBS, if we start using that as a live broadcasting software. Mm-hmm. We like the Mevo camera is supposed to be able to get you on a few streams at a time, but they have some weird thing where like you can either do Facebook Live only, or you can do YouTube and Vimeo at the same time. And so it's like, okay, but ideally you want to have the video up on all 3,
right?
I think,
but nobody you're not checking YouTube and Vimeo like you check Facebook. So going live on Facebook makes way more sense.
But remember, we just did Tinfoil Hat, and they get us every time. Like I subscribe to Workbench, their channel. Every time you post a video, I get an email notification.
Mm-hmm. Right. I'm just saying,
like Chrome open
accidentally. You're more likely to see something on Facebook because you're checking that more often. At least me, I'm not going on Vimeo to see what's new on Vimeo.
Well, Vimeo is a professional market. It makes sense for that. It makes sense for half of what we talk about.
Yeah, that's why it was hard for me on Vimeo in a way, because it was like I feel like that's for finished work. That's like how it feels. But I mean, maybe
that's how it used to be. It used to be like here's like real professional video. They really try to separate themselves.
That's where my main business stuff is. Like my main actual company work is on there.
Yeah, but I would if I'm playing armchair quarterback, I'd say just take everything you've done on that channel and just upload it to Vimeo, and it's all good with the keywords and all that stuff. All that stuff helps.
Sure.
and the e-learning thing is really what they're focusing on. So like premium subscription model stuff.
Yeah, how does that like I've seen that come along, but I don't want people to have to like pay for things unless it's specific. Like, is there a subscription that people can just like sign up to, like a YouTube Red or something?
So
like
it's
that,
called the freemium strategy, which is a lot of apps do it, right? So you get an app, it's free, but like to really use it, you got to pay $4 or whatever it is.
Right.
It's the same thing with podcasts. You're going to start to see that a lot more. Sam Tripoli was telling us he does bonus content, and then for anybody that does Patreon donations, which I guess is, I saw a PayPal button on yours.
Yeah, I have Patreon.
I guess Patreon's way better now for one reason or another.
That down.
It's actually a good thing to do, because I feel like sometimes with my Patreon I struggle to actually like get like the reward tiers and stuff done, just because a lot of times client work comes in and then I have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I told John Jacobs, who was on Tinfoil Podcast, he just had an album come out. I was like, look, you want an organic strategy. It's a little corny, but you should, anybody who buys your album and they screenshot it, send it to you, you should freestyle their name on like Facebook Live. People would love that, and they would share it, and it would get the album out there more. And
he's not doing it.
what do you know? Comedian
I bought it.
didn't follow through.
That one should be definitely done, because that's kind of like when what were they? Old Spice was doing the Old Spice guy was like shouting out people. It was like, I don't know, like 10 years ago, but
Oh yeah,
remember that? He like, you could tweet to him, I think, at the time, and like every once in a while, like they'd pick somebody and they had him do for like 24 hours or something like that, like customized videos toward little pieces.
It's
like, hey, could you do this? And they, whatever production team, I don't know, they must have had like some just A team stuff.
Oh yeah, he wasn't.
They'd like pop it out like immediately. It was cool.
Oh, that probably was a program.
Well, no, it was like people like had specific stuff. Like, hey, could you do a video with like a a toothbrush and a whatever, like a 24-hour film fest? But it was like
with the guy in it.
Yeah.
Oh, Terry Crews?
No, it was the Isaiah Mustafa or whatever.
Wait, you know the other guy's name?
Yeah.
All right.
He's right. No, I think he's right.
I told you I'm talking like random trivia, man.
No, I'm with you. I shouldn't have doubled back and questioned it. So, like, what, I guess, I'm trying to think which way to go with this. What do you want to do with this? Like, what are you getting out of having this channel? I think I always see that as like, you can look at it like a freemium model, like you're doing, right? Eventually, you're going to want to try to get something financially out of it, maybe direct or indirect,
Right.
because that'll make it better.
Yeah, I mean, so right now it's kind of somewhat of a vehicle for other things that I have, like the products and scripts and things that I sell and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I'm also thinking of doing more like specific tutorial like groupings. So whereas right now I'm making all these tutorials, and I'm never going to stop doing those free, at least as far as I can, or whatever, but those will always be there, But the other stuff, I'm thinking of like an actual like a tutorial series or something like that, where it actually, I can sell that as a unit.
Yeah, that's way. A single tutorial probably not going to get sold, but I mean, you sell one specific thing with 10 different, and you're showing everything they need to know.
So those would be more like that. Those would be more from the ground up versus my normal tutorial style, where it's like, here's this thing we have. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. This is how you do it, and that's it.
A little bit more basic stuff you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
cool.
not even exactly basic, but like say one of the ones that I'm thinking of doing is an expression tutorial or expression series. And I'm thinking of doing that to where we start from the beginning and it goes into more like programming in depth, like here's why you would do this and whatever, versus like just, hey, this is a cool effect.
Sorry.
An expression is like a snippet of code in After Effects that you can use it to like run other things, basically. Like,
thank you for telling Law what that meant.
you can like,
Eric got it.
You can like link things together, or you
like
can
mining Bitcoin. What?
I wish. I missed out on that pretty heavily.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you can take, so they have like different controls and stuff. You can rig up your own controls to control multiple layers and different things. So they're really powerful. You can do a lot of different stuff with it. So it's kind of hard topic to actually specifically explain in like one.
Now do it better in under 5 sentences.
Yeah. All right. Get in your elevator and ride it up.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why this is the podcast is good. You can kind of take your time explaining something that's a little confusing. That's why you're doing these videos. It's hard to. We do video for almost everything now. Like, I don't want to do any phone calls with clients because there's just so much visual stuff, and it's like, no, let's do phone. And I'll go, no, just reschedule it because it's not. You're gonna try to explain to me like.
Yeah, like guys.
Something.
It's in the
Can you
top
make it
right of the
this
screen.
big? And you're like, oh, come on.
It's just,
How big?
nah.
How many pixels are you talking about? And they're like pixels, and you're like, well,
Never
that's
mind.
that's the measurement you use. Fuck it.
It's these things that are on there.
Fuck you, Alexa. Don't turn
Alexa?
on.
Speaking of in the camera, like so, I also do production stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and having those around my house is great. But then I'm watching like a tutorial on like color grading, and then she's talking to me. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like this morning, I was watching something about color grading, and she's like, "Okay, so we're gonna repair this thing." I'm like, "Repair? What are you talking
Oh,
about?"
dude, I turned mine off.
Yeah, it's hard.
My kids, they abuse
I
it.
feel like I'm gonna change the name to something else, but I can't think of something else. It's like
Beyonce.
My uncle had to detach his door from it because people, if you were outside and you said Alexa open door,
Oh, yeah, and it would just
would open
open
his door. She was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna detach
That's
that.
not a good.
Yeah, he has his whole house, smart house, hooked up to the Alexa. And problem was that he locked his keys outside. He's like, Alexa, open the door, and it opened the door for him. And he thought about it. He's like, this is not good.
Not you, baby girl.
It's
No
been.
bueno.
Hey, baby girl, not you. Don't worry about it.
I can't believe it took this long to get keyless entry to our houses. Like what? We had it on our card for 15 years, and I still got to go up and put a stupid metal key in my house. Come on,
I agree.
right?
But always
Why
get
is that not a thing?
Always get the one like we've got because technology is going to fail you at some point. So get the analog kind of. You can always put the key in if you need to.
Does
We
it?
have a thumbprint one, or a fingerprint one, and I'm like, this thing's going to break. I want something that has a punch code, a fingerprint, and then
And a dick
also
hole.
and a dick glory hole for your key. Because that's my theory with all like that kind of smart home stuff. If I can't turn on the lights physically, that I don't want to have to
Yeah, I
rely
don't-
on
yeah.
my app to do it.
Yeah, that's scary.
Because I feel like I have bad luck with a lot of that stuff too, and it'll break down and the moment you need it the most.
I've
kind
had
of
that
thing.
happen to me a couple of times where I used to have a Wink that was controlling stuff.
What's that?
It's a hub.
Okay, it's
this.
like all these.
It was like the
things.
cheap one they had at Home Depot, and you get like lights
Oh,
with it and all
boy.
that stuff.
Oh,
I've
that-
since
the
been able to.
the end cap like on the
yeah,
aisle.
exactly. I've since been
Yeah,
able to
look
like
those up.
hook that into my Philips Hue setup, which is nice because that works like instantly and great. But the Wink one would like fail at random times, and like it's like 4 a.m. You're like, okay, I'm ready to go to sleep, and you go to turn off the lights, and it just doesn't.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, great. Or like the power goes off, and for some reason it's set to automatically like turn them on. So like the power goes off, and you're like, ugh.
I do like
on?
I do like this. I use IFTTT for a lot of that,
Mm-hmm.
and we have the Philips Hue at our place and a few lights, and I like that it'll turn the lights red if there's like a smoke detector goes off or
yeah.
something
Or
like
you need to
that,
keep chicken warm.
or gas station chicken warm,
Right.
whatever fried chicken we have laying around. It'll just automatically turn to that. The smart home stuff scares me. That it's kind of why I don't have any of the voice activated things at our house. I'm fine with it here
Right.
because God knows what she thinks we talk about in this room. Because when the
If
mics
they've
are
been
off,
listening
it's
to us,
even
we're already
weirder.
fucked.
Like, hey Alexa, profile me, please. And she's like, are you sure you want to?
Yeah.
No, they got a dossier on us already.
Well, I mean, they can't really advertise to us because we're so random all over the board that I don't think they'd like. In one sentence, we'll talk about like sensory deprivation tank, and like gray pubes. You know, that's called a callback, guys.
There you go.
That's how you do it in
Nice.
the business. Yeah.
Nice.
How far are we in here? What's the minute count?
Producer.
I think we gotta wrap it up in a minute.
Is there something here that tells you that?
Oh, Jesus.
It's called a
Doesn't
clock.
matter.
No,
Sounds like you're done anyway.
I think we started at 12:20. I think we're 45 in. So
48 minutes.
boom.
I found it.
Any advice?
You just made that up.
It's the lug nut. I fixed it. Have you any advice you want to give out there, or anything you wanted to throw out there that I didn't pre-ask you? What do you want to talk about, like a good host would? Anything in your industry, or you can just bitch about something if you want.
I mean, like I said before, too, just copying people, that's a big thing, you know. I feel like there's a lot of people that just... some kids, like, because my wife's a teacher, right? So a lot of times that you got, like, the two groups, I feel like, now, where there's, like, kids that really want to learn something and they're, like, driven to, you know, do whatever. And then, you know, I mean, I guess this is probably true of all generations, but, you know, whatever. It's what I see now being, you know, an old almost 34-year-old. So if you have these other people that basically want everything given to them, you know, like, and I feel that's a little bit more than when I was a kid, probably because when I was a kid, you had to like go to an encyclopedia or, you know, whatever to like get information. And now it's just like, people are just like, oh, well, you didn't tell me exactly how to do it, you know? And that's kind of what my tutorials are kind of geared to not do. So that's kind of...
I want to know the reason, though, because I think it's frustrating to double back when you're in the middle of that, right?
The reason is that you learn one way and the other way you don't learn. Like if you either learn how to get information or you learn how to like figure out how to get information.
So you think that comment I saw was like, why can't you slow it down and, you know, break everything down? You think more Darwinism, like that's they're going to just kind of.
Sometimes those people are people that are learning, you know, and they're just new to it and they don't understand it.
Horrible people that leave comments on YouTube. Yeah,
yeah, all those YouTube
who the fuck
people
does this? I don't know.
Number one
But
reason
like-
not to read comments on YouTube because there's comments on YouTube.
Yeah, pretty
I'm
much.
narcissistic. I had to read the ones that
I read
were
all-
on ours.
I read
Yeah.
every single one.
I think I've replied to pretty much everybody,
I reply nice,
including the guy that tried to accuse me of actually like stealing somebody else's tutorial or something once. That was an interesting one, where I was basically just like, okay, so people can't have the same idea. That's not allowed, apparently. And I'm supposed to know what everybody else in the tutorial space has
They
done.
weren't
You can't
accusing
use
them, like-
sarcasm, dude.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, basically, my reply was like, okay, well, assuming I stole this one, what about the other like 70 I'd done at that time?
right.
What about that? Did that the other guy?
It's like,
I
you have
don't-
70?
Yeah, it's like people commenting on one that I did like 60 back or something. It's like, what are you? Okay.
Oh,
They probably saw one that copied off of you, and
Yeah,
if they
maybe.
think you copied off of
Maybe.
them.
yeah. I've had comedians steal my material. I don't. There's not much you can do about it except for confront them. But
Yeah.
usually they die out anyway.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen people that have basically like within a few days posted a tutorial that's similar to mine. You know, it's different enough or whatever, but I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's funny to read their comments. They're like, "Oh man, you're the only person on YouTube doing this stuff." It's like, that's funny because I got that same kind of comment like forever ago. That
Oh, we had people accusing us of
hilarious.
throwing up Illuminati gang signs during the podcast.
Oh, that's interesting.
The
I like
tinfoil.
the was
I
it-
don't know.
I don't know
what
we
they're.
don't know.
I was just reading it. I was like, oh,
so a lot
that's
of the
fun.
stuff that I'll follow too is kind of like because I'm not big on social justice stuff. Obviously, it's
Okay.
not really a thing. That's I don't know, whatever. But anyway,
Yeah.
One thing that was really
White people
funny.
rule, right?
One thing
Yeah.
that was funny is you see the thing where people were doing this, like okay.
Oh well, the
It was
thing
like,
under the
and
belt.
They were
that
saying
you
like,
do?
oh, well, it's like white power. Like they like so some of the people that were like in this thing. Like there's a dude I watch on YouTube. His name is some
Logan
black guy.
Paul. Okay.
Logan Paul. Some black guy and then a couple other people like Andy Worski or whatever. They did like this like deal where it was like this like white power thing. And it was like a joke. You know, like, but they got it to like actually get news on it. Like people were calling this like some kind of like white
Joe's
supremacist.
making the circle,
symbol.
the index finger
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
thumb
sorry,
with the
okay.
other three fingers up.
Yeah,
if
you
you're
know,
not watching.
your okay
Saying
dive symbol. You know, like the
Okay emoji. Just
yeah,
think of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's the other
or
thumbs
the
up.
perfect whatever.
But
Mm.
I thought you were going to go on the one because the game that came back from our middle school, early high school days is you take the OK and you put it on your thigh or whatever. Below, so it has to be below your belt.
I remember
and
that
if someone
song.
looks at it, you get to punch them.
That is the stupidest shit. I never.
They should
played
have combined
it. I
that
hated it
together.
from
It's
the
it's
start.
back like Smirnoff, whatever the kneeling Smirnoff
not
ice
back.
thing. Oh, it's back, dude.
If it's back, then
The national
whoever you're hanging out
championship
with is-
photo of Alabama, one guy was one of the players was doing it, which is hilarious.
Whatever. That's
That's
probably
funny.
like an 18-year-old kid who doesn't know what's cool.
It's all right, Dad. It was. I think it's funny.
Whatever.
There's like people
Shove
doing
a
it like
national championship
like
up his ass.
super professional at the White House meeting people. They're doing
That's
it.
kind of funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, but you know,
All I follow is like fifth year Barstool Sports. All these like fratty old row.
broscience.com.
Yeah.
Get gains, bro.
I got a question. So, how do you manage the expectations for some of the new artists that you meet, as far as getting into the industry?
I don't think it's really like I think people have a lot of like doom and gloom on like, oh, there's so many people doing it and whatever, but there's not so many good people. So like a lot of the times that I'm trying to get, you know, I get a lot of work coming in and then I have nobody to farm it to, you know, because a lot of times it's just there's nobody good around, you know. So you just have to be like hone your skills. Don't just say, oh, well, I know how to use After Effects, so here you go. You know, like you can't really have the idea that people should just be giving you money, you know, and you just have to kind of like just like learn your thing. You know, like if you're not sitting there in After Effects and like or whatever program you're using. If you're not like sitting there actually actively learning it and experimenting in it, you're not really going to grow to the level that you are going to, get extra work and stuff, because otherwise you're just doing what everybody else does. So you're just sticking to that base level. Yeah, obviously it's a prerequisite that you know this program in order to make stuff, but you need to like work on it more in order to learn things about it.
Or have talent. You definitely need talent. I mean,
you have to have an eye for it.
The best person is talented in that field.
There's a thing I'm on. It's called like the MoGraph Slack or whatever. It's #motiondesign.com, and there's a lot of like people hanging out in there and sharing knowledge about different things, and I feel like I've got a lot of stuff, just from them and just people I've like met online, that they're like, hey, why don't you do this or whatever. Sometimes even people will send me an idea for a tutorial that way. They're like, hey, I don't do tutorials, but you can do whatever, and I shout them out and I show what they have. So
I think you need to get. I saw that you've added yourself in the beginning of them as the intro. I think you got to go picture in picture and have you got to do the 2-shot because you are doing it.
Sure, but then I get the problem of I do a lot of cuts because I'm trying to keep them short. So that was my other goal when I first started, was like really keeping them short, because I got tired of tutorials that were like 40 minutes long and they show like the same thing I'll show in 3 minutes. It's like. So
people won't mind the cuts. I think they understand that you're skipping ahead.
I'm saying on the branding side, you should just do picture in picture and have you in a tiny box at the bottom, just so people know. So
that's true.
You're almost branding yourself a little bit in a way.
Yeah,
you could in theory. You don't have to record yourself at the exact same time, so you can
true.
cut down everything. And then when
just
you're just doing your voiceover, you just record.
You
yourself.
could, but I mean, you could do OB. We started doing it with how-to tutorials. When we do a website for someone, we shoot like 7 of those, and I wanted to mess around with that OBS picture-in-picture thing, so that our thing is we want to show them there's a human behind all this doing
that's why
it.
I did an intro. That's why I started doing.
I say keep that intro, but
I might actually do
a little
like a cutaway, because that might be a little easier for me to shoehorn into the way I do everything. That's kind of how I'm planning on doing that one series. There's a guy,
or just watermark your face at the
just
bottom,
like right at the bottom,
cut out. Yeah. It gets the job. Whatever it is, I think you are workbench is you kind of thing now. But it is that thing of like, you may develop something a couple years down the line that you are an expert for this intermediate to advanced area.
Sure.
Beyond workbench.
People may want to book you.
Workbench.
We talked about it with this. Like, there's opportunities for us to do business, kind of comedy business stuff. All right, we got to roll. Our producer is showing cue cards that says 57. Plus, we've got a bunch of work to do. Thanks for coming on.
Hey man, thanks for having me.
And anything else? You got anything else?
No.
Damien?
Nope.
No, man, it's fun bossing you around from back here.
I like having you as the producer.
Yeah.
I need whiteboard. I'm putting my request for whiteboards and Sharpies and not Sharpies.
Oh, we'll have the display screen. Yeah, you see that professionalism? You hear that audio jack going in? Yeah.